Two friends of this program are here. Spike Lee is the acclaimed director of such films as Malcolm X, Do the Right Thing, and He Got Game. Edward Norton is the acclaimed actor of such films as American History X, Fight Club, and Red Dragon. Together, they have teamed up for the new film 25th Hour. Among other things, it is most notable for being the first major film to deal with New York City in the aftermath of 9/11. Here is the trailer for 25th Hour.
I wanna hold you, but my hands are tied.
Years from now, you gather your family together, you tell them the whole story. Who you are, where you come from. And then you ask them if they know how lucky they are to be there.
This will be the best night of my life. Best night of my life.
I am pleased to welcome Spike Lee and Edward Norton back to this table. Welcome. This is great. It's a good movie.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year. There are a lot of good movies out. There really, and this is a...
I mean, if you're a film goer, you love films, there's a lot of good films in the theater, and, you know, historically, the Academy, the studios say their best films at the end of the year of Academy's consideration. Now it's just a glut. And there are a lot of good films out there.
There really are. I mean, for anybody who says something's wrong with the movie business, there may be something wrong with the business, but there's nothing wrong with the talent that's out there creating, acting.
No, I agree. I've said that before. I mean, I think this year is an unusually piled up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good films out, more than even normal. But I often say that I don't like it when I hear people comparing these times unfavorably with sort of, you know, the late 60s, early 70s get romanticized justifiably a lot, but I disagree with these unfavorable comparisons between then and now. I think I mean, you might disagree with me, but I think in some ways there are more ways to get a movie made now than ever. You know? Yeah,
because of the opportunity to put it on cable or something else.
Yeah, there's a lot
more outlets.
There are more outlets. There are more people looking to invest money in films.
Right,
There's more entrenched appreciation of the margins that can be achieved doing films at a lower budget. You know, I mean, it's like it's opened up.
You said about him. I mean, did you take a walk on with him or something to that effect? I mean, you really wanted. When you get a call from Spike Lee, I mean, the answer was yes.
Yeah, I had. That's true. I won't talk about Spike with him here too much. But I grew up on Spike's films. You know, I mean, I shouldn't say I grew up, but I did too.
I grew up on Spike's films.
No, I came of age. You know, like Do the Right Thing came out, like when I was in college, and
89.
Yeah, 89, and it was. And I have always appreciated his films, and at some point along the way, I think when He Got Game came out, I had started making films, and I wrote him a letter, and
still got it.
And I thought that was a film that went too unnoticed. I thought it was to me a really, really special film that didn't have enough attention paid to it, and we started a dialogue. I mean, we kind of, I wrote to him, and I think you called me. We would bump into each other. We ended up having dinner in Paris one time.
We had this great interest to work together, but until 20th Hour, there was never a script that was discussed or an idea. We want to work together. It never became concrete toward
there was at one point I ran into him. I think it was like at the Super Bowl in Miami or something that year. And it had gone since we'd been talking. It had gone some time, and he'd never sent me anything. You know. And I went up. I said, I don't think you're thinking outside the box. And then he said, what do you mean? I think outside the box. I said, well, just think creatively. It doesn't have, maybe if you don't think I would fit a role, maybe I would, get around it. And then like the next time I saw you, you said, what does that mean? I don't think outside the box. You're like, got in his brain.
It was the party for the concert for New York.
Yeah.
Right.
At the Hudson Hotel.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, David Benioff, the fine writer who wrote the script from his novel, we share an agent. I got the script. I read it, loved it. I said, let's send it to Edward.
That was your first thought?
Yes.
Send it to Edward?
Yes.
So for me, it was worth the wait. Well, it was worth the wait for me because it was, I mean, I would have considered doing almost anything Spike, was interested in talking about, but this was like really, this is sort of beyond Best Expectations, just in terms of the richness of the piece, the strength of the part, and it was an unusually quick from really time quick. That he first got it and I first got it to time we were making the movie was like 3 months. Yeah. 4 months. I mean, it was
quick for Hollywood.
It was quick.
Kidding? I mean,
this film came together like that, and because of the richness of the David Benioff's writing, we were able to get the great cast, surround Edward, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Barry Pepper, Rosario Dawson, Anna Paquin, Brian Cox, and NFL great the Goose, Tony Siragusa. Exactly. So we had a lot of fun.
They're saying about you in this that you may be, and I don't want to characterize this, but you may be using strokes you haven't used before. You may be showing us some stuff we haven't seen before with you. Does that resonate with you? Do you understand what they're saying?
Well, when you hear comments like that, you try to take them in a good way. And if people are saying that, I'll take it as a compliment. And to be honest,
admit it as a compliment.
Yeah, but at the same time, I really try to do different stuff every time out. I really try not to be redundant or do the same stories, because there's a whole lot of stories to be told. But I think that sometimes because, if you look at my filmography, if you look at it's really as far as white cast, all the films have been diverse and Do the Right Thing, but you look at Summer Sam and this, so if that maybe it magnifies it more that I'm doing something different than, with the cast.
Tell me the story.
Well, Monty Brogan right here.
Yeah, this is Monty.
Irish American kid from the Bay Ridge section of New York, working class, father as a fireman.
Played by Brian Cox.
Goes to private school, Upper East Side, starts selling pot to his classmates, gets kicked out, and, ends up selling heroin and coke, and he gets busted. He's going away for 7 years to the Hooskow, to the Crossbar Hotel, to the joint. And this film, we see he has 24 hours before he has to go. In a lot of ways, I was telling this to Edward, when someone's going away, it's akin to someone having a terminal illness. And so I like about what
they won't survive it as the same person. They go in.
Yeah, you come out of prison changed. Right. And what's interesting, the way David Benioff set it off, is not just Edward's reaction of how he's feeling, but also the people around him. And everybody's uncomfortable. What do you say to your best friend? Exactly. What do you say to your son? What do you say to your boyfriend that's going away for 7 years? So everybody's uneasy and feeling, if I could have, would have, should have.
I think, to me, that was one of the things about it that made it, it made it complicated on a human, emotional level, because I think when he's comparing it to terminal illness, I agree in the sense that it's like you ask yourself the question, how do you wrap up your life when you think it's about to end, or what do you do? And the truth of the matter is, you can think grand thoughts about what you would do, but a lot of people would do just what he does in this film, which is try futilely, in a way to tie up loose ends to make everything okay before you go. Which you can't, but in terms of what I thought was, the moral component of the film, the morality tale that it is in a way, the thing that was interesting about examining not just Monty but the people around him is that I think that's the way that the story poses hard questions to the audience, not just the simple question of does this guy deserve what he's getting for what he did, but is it a friend's responsibility to say something, or is a person's choices their own? Is it a father's responsibility to not take money? It poses questions about morality from a lot of different angles because it includes the anguish that these friends are going through.
And also the piggyback what Edward's saying, no one is squeaky clean. It's dirty water and everybody has to swim in it.
Right, and you see it, and they point fingers at each other.
Right.
They say, he's to Rosario's character. Naturel said, where were you? You should have known it. Why didn't you stop him? As you always do in circumstances like that. And you also see people saying he's going to die. Right. This is over. Not saying it to him, but saying it among friends. The interesting thing about the high school, too, is that this great moment where he goes back and sees the picture, and there he is, as all of us have have those pictures from when we were in high school. You also go through every possible emotion you can have. Do I commit suicide? Do I flee? Do I, it's not just tying things together. It is, what are my options here?
I think that it's very much about, especially the beginning of the film. We actually talked in the early days prepping it. We discussed this idea of extending the walk that Monty is taking. I said to him, in some ways the story gets going in the evening. What did he do that whole time before he arrives? In the morning, we know that he's sort of spent the morning walking around, and we made the decision to allow some of that to breathe in the film, because that, to me, is when he's doing exactly what you said, which is desperately sorting through what are my options here. And as the evening builds, I think the tension becomes, we realize that he has some idea tucked away about something desperate that he's going to, attempt.
What's interesting, and maybe it's because of him, and not only what he brings in this performance, but what we know of him. This is a smart guy who knows he's screwed up.
Right.
That's clear that he understands that he doesn't try to blame people.
Right.
He's the last person that's looking for.
Well, he
maybe not.
He blames other people, but then he has that epiphany in the mirror. Where
so I was going to get to that, but that's where he's blaming all of New York for being what it is. It's everybody. I'm watching that and I'm saying, Spike is not going to leave anybody out of this. He's going to touch every.
We should say that is directly derived from the book. I mean, we all, Spike, me, and David, all sort of contributed little enhancements based on where we are now in the world and what's happened.
Yeah.
But that
is in the novel.
as a concept or as a moment, that moment of this character sort of mentally lashing out and trying to blame everybody else is directly from his book.
But it's blaming society, not an individual, right?
And what's interesting, though, Charlie, is that when I read the script, as I said before, I know it was a novel. So I went back to the novel, and that scene we were just talking about, the FU montage in the novel. So I called David Benioff. I said, David, where is this scene?
Yeah.
He said, well, it got developed out. I said, put it back in.
It got developed out? What does that mean? That somebody who... What is
Well,
that?
I mean,
It was developed, and they...
Well, without like, insulting anybody, I do think that at times that's the difference between sometimes a writer or producers and a filmmaker, is that this is a moment in a book it's a defining moment for this character. It's the moment at which I think he begins to accept personal responsibility. But it's a very in the book it's a very interior moment, and I think I can easily see a lot of people saying, well, that's not cinematic, or it's so it disappears. And what I've always liked about Spike's films is I don't think he's ever been constrained by the parameters of the literal. You know what I mean? And I think that here's this defining moment that's an interior monologue in a book, but he found this way to make it very explosively cinematic. I mean, very visually dynamic, and those are the moments for me that push a film into the realm of film. I mean, it when you can push the medium to be able to transpose a moment like that, then that's.
Can I go so far as saying this is the reason this kind of experience is the reason you want to act?
Sure. Yeah.
Because I hear you talking. It's like you were colleagues on a journey here. You're talking about the preparation. You talk about the give and take. You're talking about.
For me, the sort of the holy grail of elements, in a way, when you head in to work on any piece in theater or in film, is if the text that you're working from is fundamentally strong and rich, and the person who's going to direct you have a great deal of faith in as a director, then you're in the sweet spot as an actor, because all other concerns sort of melt away. You are left free to do just what you do, and do it with no sense of self-consciousness or fear that you might throw something against the wall and that's not good and it'll be used. If you trust the person that you're working with and for, then it frees you up, and it frees you up. And that scene is a good example of that, because I am familiar with Spike's work. I do know the ways that he so successfully explodes moments like that. And so we end up, in a bar, out in Brooklyn, and it's just about setting up a camera and rolling, and you can. It's almost like you're unshackled completely to let loose. Not even, just like literally the emotional insides of a character, and in a way that's not even realistic. And that's wonderful. I mean, that's a great experience. We had a lot of fun doing that kind of work.
I also had a great softball team too.
You put together one?
Every film we have a softball team.
Yeah. Did you film this last summer? Is that when you filmed it, or?
We filmed May 13th to July 3rd. So we had a very short post-production period to try to get it ready for when it came out.
This is not an expensive movie?
Cheap.
What's cheap?
$15 million.
Is that right?
But we understand that because it's a financial risk. This film should not cost more than that, and so therefore, it's a give and take, and we were happy to get the $15 million.
Touchstone, Disney did this, huh?
Yes.
All right. Let me show some scenes here. The first scene is between Naturel played Rosario Dawson as Ed, and this scene comes before the cops come to arrest him.
Flashback.
Roll tape.
I can't believe you. Why? Why? You've lived in the United States your entire life. You've been to Puerto Rico twice on vacation.
I'm very proud of my heritage.
Yeah, but what does that mean? So I should get an Irish flag tattooed on my ass just because my grandparents were
There's
there?
not enough room on your skinny white flat ass for an Irish flag.
Yeah, well, between you and me, the kid's gonna be just about right then.
Kids, at this rate, we're not having any.
Well, she's good, isn't she?
Really good, yeah.
Yeah.
Lala from.
I saw it.
Yeah, right.
But it's interesting because when you read the script, Naturel didn't have a lot of big verbal moments, and I remember when we were talking early on the phone, I think I said, this is their relationship is going to be something that's communicated with a lot of looks between each other, and there's an enormous amount being communicated between these two people without words, and I thought in He Got Game, Rosario had she had this really natural sense of stillness. And I think probably as much as anything else, I mean, among other things, the thing that impressed me the most about her is she's fairly young, and she is very comfortable with just stillness between people and allowing a moment to hang.
Which is something you generally learn over a period of time.
Yeah, I think so, and I don't think some people ever learn it. I think film, I really do. I think film is different in that way. It's one of the things about film can draw a lot. Film as a medium, I think, it has the capacity. It can draw these moments out of a face in stillness, or if a film is well constructed, an audience will supply a lot to it, and not a lot of actors, I think, especially as young as Rosario, I think, have that confidence to let a moment hang. They get uncomfortable with it, and she was wonderful.
Did you learn things about him you didn't know, making a movie like this?
Well, I mean, you don't really know someone really well as far as in filmmaking until you work with them. And Edward's, for me, Edward's a very smart person, intelligent, and he was coming up with stuff that I didn't see that were used in the film. The incident we talked about, he said, Spike, let's have this thing where he's walking at the beginning. I said, that's great. And then another thing he said, I
didn't know where I was going at the time, but I thought this is interesting.
Because, he's taking a walk. He's going away for 24 years. For 7 years. Right. And then another thing at the end, there's a reprise of the people we see in the FU montage. Yeah. Again, that was also Edward's ideal to bring this
exactly
back.
Right.
It was so good that David Benoit said, I just thought I'd have to put in the novel.
The FU montage is when he's making it. He's just going.
I know you don't got a clip of that.
No, I know. I wish we did. Actually, I was thinking about that.
You're on cable.
Why can't we just go roll in and see it? We could have beeped it out or done something. Let me take a look. We have not seen another scene here. This is where your guy Tony tells Monty that he doesn't want him to invite Naturel on his last night, as he feels that, you'll see it. Here it is.
You get very mad at me.
Oh, you know what? Will you stop with that already? I already told you, it wasn't her.
You know this.
Why would she?
Maybe her aunt is a legal alien. You know these Mexicans, they jump their border.
She's Puerto Rican. Makes her a citizen of the United States. That's more than I can say for you.
Maybe the feds, they bust her.
Feds. You're cracking up. Filling my head with this You're crazy.
You ask her.
The Goose. I'll tell you a quick story.
All right.
HBO had a series called Hard Knocks where the camera in the Baltimore Ravens training camp. total access. And I was watching this every time it was on, and he was cracking me up.
Because?
This is a great presence.
Right.
He's funny.
Yeah, and it looks...
He's big. I knew we needed.
He's wide.
He's wide. You know, so I called him up. So you want to be in a film? You know, and he came in. I want to say also that, you know, Edward was really responsible in helping Goose with this performance, because a lot of times we work with other people. Edward was pulling aside, work with his dialect and stuff like that. So he had, you know.
When he came in, and, you know, he was very brave. I mean, he just, you know, because we kind of said early on, like, this guy, we got to keep this guy Russian.
Right.
You know, it was important. It was different. It was, he couldn't just be an Italian thug in the middle of this.
No,
right.
No, that's right.
So Tony went for it, and he came in, and he was sounding to me a little like a Transylvanian. You know, he was like, "What is this working?" You know, he was like every W was V. So we were like, let's go talk a little bit. But he's a quick study, man. Yeah. He's the kind of, I mean, joking aside, he's the kind of guy where, you know, you give him a certain concept, like early on when we were doing the thing with the scene where I find this, the very first scene in the movie, we find this dog together on the side of the road, and Tony was, Tony's a big guy, and some of his lines he was going really big, and I just, you know, said to him one time, I said, whatever, for whatever it's worth, I said, you know, you're big, so if you go the other way, I think it's maybe funnier sometimes. And I started to say more, and he said, I got it. And then you never have to say anything to him again. He really understood.
You know what? Yeah. He's coachable.
Yeah. He's a term we know. All right.
He's coachable.
We know some people aren't too,
don't
terrific. Roll tape. This is another scene, because I want to see Brian Cox, who plays Monty's father. Here it is.
I didn't hear you wishing I was a law school student then. Not one word from you back then. Where'd you think that money was coming from? Donald Trump?
That was a mistake.
Well, let's just forget it then.
There were lots of mistakes. I should have stopped drinking when your mother passed.
Oh, please don't do this.
An 11-year-old boy with a dead mother and a drunk father. You know, I got no one to blame but myself.
Oh, stop.
That's what makes this film. I mean,
the father-son relationship, you think?
Well, that's part of it. But it is this sense of, as you said, it's a moral tale. And everybody is reaching out with not asking questions. You know, I mean, everybody feels the connection. I mean, don't you agree?
Well, I do. I mean, it's very sad in the sense that I think it's, you know, to me fundamentally it's a story about the consequences of not examining the morality of what you're doing, and that scene is like at the peak of it for me, because it's, and the scene we talked about where Monty's rage comes out in the bathroom is right after this, because he's sitting there, I think, and realizing what he's done to his father. He's watching his father, you know, deconstruct himself with all this guilt and everything, and I mean, he's destroyed him. He's emotionally destroyed him, and I think that what's so sad to me about his story is that it's a person who has, you know, here he is with 24 hours left, and he's realizing that, as we all would, that what you want to do is spend it with the people you love the most, that you care about the most. And even in doing that, he's realizing that this is what he should have been focusing on more in his life anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like you take for granted the things that are most important to you, the people that are most important to you, until you're about to lose them.
It's often said, you know, why don't people realize what they feel in the last period of their life? If they could somehow forecast ahead and see it, then they would realize how important that was and change their behavior, but that's not given to us. I want to just show one last scene. This is the night before. The next morning he's going to get up and he's going to ride with his father to the joint. And here is where they're getting together. And this is the first time you'll see Philip Seymour Hoffman, who was his best friend from school, who is now a school teacher. Roll tape.
You're the English teacher.
I think what he means, Kostya, is that when you say funny, you should say that. That means that it reminds you of a funny story.
Exactly.
No. It was funny what you say. Funny, you should say that.
That still makes no sense. This is what I deal with. This is what I was talking about. It's perfectly clear.
Man, I don't know what else to say about this except it opens nationwide today, January 10th. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Go Jets, huh?
Jets. Jets.
You've been there for a while, huh? Since Joe Willie?
Joe Willie.
Yeah. White shoes?
White shoes. pantyhose, white fur coat.
You're a man.
My man.
Are you on to your next project?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Have an idea you want to share with?
No. Oh, TV. We're trying to do a dramatic series from He Got Game.
Oh, great.
For ESPN.
Really?
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Good for you.
But Jesus will be graduated. Just keep him coming out.
Jesus is the name of your son? What?
No.
No, the
Ray Allen.
Oh, Ray Allen character. Oh, that's
Jesus
right. That's right. I don't think Ray Allen. Is that the only movie Ray ever did after that? I mean,
has he been in
did he get
anything
another
else?
role?
Yeah, he did another James Toback film after that.
Ray Allen from the Milwaukee
Really?
Bucks.
Yeah.
He
was wonderful.
Got the purest shot in basketball.
Yes.
Or he used to have.
He still has it.
And you?
I'm doing some writing this spring. Taking a little break to finish adapting this book called Motherless Brooklyn.
What's it called?
Motherless Brooklyn.
Mother's Brooklyn.
Yeah.
All right.
Mother's Brooklyn.
Motherless Brooklyn.
Motherless Brooklyn.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
By David. I'm sorry, Jonathan Latham.
Takes place in
It
Brooklyn.
won a lot of awards.
Was it good to be back on stage?
I had a terrific stint back in the theater this fall. That was, it was like some kind of a dream for me. It's theater was near where I live. I was walking to work every night and with my old theater company, and it was just I love being in the fall in New York doing a play. That's good. Yeah, it was good, and it was a great play.
It was great.
Two great people and all around great. But I'm waiting on Spike to come up with something next. Yeah, see, I actually, the thing is, no, I won't delay now that we're sort of wrapping up, but I don't. See, I don't agree at all. I hear the compliment that's implicit in what other people are saying about this film.
About new strokes or something.
Yeah, but I and what Spike said, we all do try out new things, but I thought this film was directly in the line of lots of the things that Spike's done because I think that Spike has done through the course of his career films that examine the moral challenges of living in modern America very consistently. To me, that's what Do the Right Thing was about. To me, I thought He Got Game was very much about
Jungle
that.
Fever.
Yeah, these are. Issues of race, issues of money, issues of death. These
issues of gender.
Yeah, and how do you cope? Even The Summer of Sam. It's about how do people cope with the morality and the difference in, I think, especially in this film, but in many of Spike's films, I always have appreciated that in some ways he seems comfortable posing questions to the audience as opposed to answering them for them, and I think that sometimes people get very uncomfortable with films that
they've been conditioned by Hollywood.
They've been conditioned by Hollywood to have the questions answered for them, and to be told that redemption is the ultimate value, and that you can people have this sort of addiction to making sure the audience walks away from a movie knowing that everything is okay, and that's
knowing
not
what happened. Not to cut you up, but knowing whatever. Person asked me, "What happened to Jake Lewinsky? What happened to Frank?" I said, "You decide what happens to all these characters, and I'm not going to tell you what happens to all these other people. One thing we know is." Monty's going to prison, but everybody else, you got to figure out yourself.
And in that sense, the film, there is, I think, an unequivocal moral center to it, in the sense that this person is going to experience the consequences of his choices. His choices are coming home to him in the form of consequences, and in that sense, there's no equivocation about the wrongness of what he was doing. But beyond that, there are a lot of difficult questions posed. Are the drug laws that we have just?
Rockefeller law.
Yeah. Does he deserve the extent of what he's getting for what he did? Were his friends complicit in this? Was his girlfriend complicit? Was his father complicit? Are people responsible
for intervention
on someone else's choices, or are we all responsible? All these kinds of questions. What I enjoy about Spike's films very consistently, and I think this is right in line with all of them, is that it puts those questions in the audience's lap and says, "You're an adult person. I'm not going to talk down to you. Figure these things out for yourself." And as opposed to, here's a glib wrap up that lets me what I think about it in a very simplistic way, so that you can go out and feel okay. the film, I don't think the film redeems Monty in essence by making him human, which is to me, as an audience member, that's what I have always enjoyed about Spike's films, is that I walked out of them, I don't feel like I've been treated like a 12-year-old. I feel like difficult, complicated issues have been presented, and I have to go away and think about them. So that's why I thought that this, when I hear people say, this is so new, I say, I think, I disagree.
Well said. And as I have always believed, the question is every bit as important as the answer.
Definitely.
You know? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll be right back. Stay with us.